Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce the #1 Protoss player in Korea. Not the one we deserve, but the one we need right now. It's herO. Up against the fastest player in the world, averaging over 600 APM, over 10 actions per second, spawning as his native Zerg. It's Reynor, the Italian stallion. A Protoss versus Zerg that is almost guaranteed to create acute emotional distress, because both of these players are two of the most aggressive that their races have to offer. Neither of them like that turtle death ball style. Neither of them like sitting back behind their defenses. But both of them would like you to like and subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,237 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I would do with my life. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. herO opening up with a Void Ray. Shenanigans are afoot. Well, floating. Same idea. Takes out the Overlord on the Pervert Pillar. And it's a metagame in and of itself. So early Protoss versus Zerg usually relies upon the Protoss getting a Stargate and then building between 1 and 3 oracles. If you go Void Ray first, that's already suspicious. It tells, because the one thing oracles can't do is attack overlords that are sitting there waiting, watching, creepily. I mean, kind of built in, but... So with the Void Ray, you do have options for defense and attack, but it simply isn't as... it doesn't have as much utility as the Oracle. With Revelation, Stasis, it just has more DPS when activated. So the Void Ray is a tell in and of itself. And it looks like herO. Oh my god, did he fake the second gas? Well, he's taken this gas. Is he mining all this gas here? He is. But he hasn't taken his second gas at the natural. He's focused on charge and +1, a style that has gotten more and more popular lately. And, well, this is an odd combo. The Queens... one of them didn't make it, but able to drive back for now. The Oracle taking a lot of damage. The Void Ray, get off my creep! So herO is going for the kind of bait and switch style, where you do whatever you can. You keep them busy, keep them in the dark, and then blindside them with dozens of charge lots. Reynor's seen it before, or at least he's seen builds similar to it. So I don't expect him to be entirely unprepared. And by this stage of the game, if you haven't seen anything, that's something in it. Oh, that god, he's just Warpian Zealots at his mate. herO with a good old-fashioned crouching charge lot. Hidden Void Ray, but well, not really hidden Void Ray. The Void Ray is hiding the charge. It didn't really work. Anyways, moving on. And he's going to have +1, which is a key difference to something like a Glaive to Depth builds. These are fighting charge lots. The intent is to not just take out workers, but actually potentially do outright damage to things like Queens, Zerglings. The +1 allows you to kill Zerglings in just 2 hits instead of 3, which is a significant DPS increase. And because Roaches and Queens both have base armor, it helps a lot against that. But there's a lot of Roaches and Langs. And the Queens to back them up. Transfuses. The charge lots are not nearly enough at this point. Reynor figured it out. He saw it with time to build Roaches. He does have a lair done. He should be starting Roach speed momentarily. And herO's just building Moracles. How many? He's 2 on the field. He's going for 3. Soon to be 4 oracles if he keeps down this road. He's got Blink behind, by the way. He didn't go for some sort of all-in charge long time. But instead, he is focused on having something of a follow-up here. The oracles are an interesting bit. The you don't usually see oracles after the initial phase of the game because they're so gas intensive. But when you make this many charge lots, I guess you're not spending too much. Hold the line, Karen. Hold the line. I don't. Sorry, I blacked out first. Well, this is an odd fight as the charge lots get into the natural. The oracles will finish off the Queens that were a bit against the charge lots. Maybe they're better off on the front line, but they're more of a support unit overall. And the charge lots are headed in towards the main, trying to hunt down yet another queen. So, it succeeded in keeping Reynor off balance. Reynor right now only has 66 drones. He has to rebuild. He's down to 1 queen, which means very few larva injects. He's got a lot of work to do and not enough energy to do it. Building more queens out of the hatcheries, which is not a massive expense, but slowing down the queens is kind of the equivalent of denying pylons and gateways and just basic production for Protoss. You do have to rebuild that in order to just continue playing correctly. The Void Ray is burning through the 4th base here, and it doesn't run out of energy, but even a couple queens should be enough. But the oracles are coming in. Meanwhile, counterattack, roaches, and the zealot was not hold position. When he said we cannot hold, he meant hold position. Oh no, the Zerglings get into the main. He's forced to recall all the Stalkers, which means he's not going to be able to protect the 4th base. The Oracles will take out Reynor's 4th in turn, so it is actually very important for Reynor to get some damage done here. He's going to end up killing a couple Stalkers, 6 probes, gets the 4th. A lot of the Zerglings are headed back. Reynor actually has 1,400 gas in the bank right now. What is he going to do? Build Ravagers? So herO defends, and again, as is customary and obligatory and painful when you watch herO, you're not wondering if, but when the Zerglings are going to get in. And it wasn't too bad. This one wasn't too bad. He's able to put together, and now herO actually has quite a comparable army in the fact, how much anti-air? 7 queens. He's throwing some Ravagers together, which aren't technically anti-air, but they're not technically not anti-air. Well, yeah. The Zerglings looking to box out the Zealots to start things off. The Oracle's burning through the queens, though a bit disjointed. The queens should be able to deal with them. The charge lots cut through the Lings and are working on the roaches. The Blink Stalkers behind, providing some backline DPS, but I don't think it's quite enough. Reynor's going to be able to turn it around. And now is it herO who's bitten off more than he can chew? Which is a metaphor, of course, as Protoss do not have mouths. herO, 117 to 142 supply. herO actually has 2-1 upgrades, which are especially important to keep those gateway units competitive. Warping in sentries, which is a choice at this stage. Having a couple sentries is never bad, but relying on mass sentry is optimistic. Well, the Stalkers will box out the Zerglings as they thought they killed one of them. The Void Ray looks like it denied another base, or is continually denying a base to the north side. So, 17 queens have died. Single-handedly, herO trying to end the monarchy here, but still, Reynor has enough to keep his production going. But if he had even half those queens still kicking, the creep spread would look a lot better. It'd be much easier to take out things like the Void Ray. But Reynor does have some infestors. Those are clearly not, I want to sit back and relax, but instead, I want to hold him down and maul his face off sort of infestors. But infestors nonetheless. Dark Shrine, second Robo, first Robo is on the way. So finally, maybe a Warp Prism. +1 Carapace for Reynor in the Hive. So what's it gonna be? He does not have a Hydralisk deck. But the fact that herO clearly doesn't have Immortals, and he's not going for Sky Toss. Oracles don't count as Sky Toss. They're something else entirely. Well, this is annoying. That Void Ray doing significant economic and emotional damage. This is one of those things that as a Zerg, it shouldn't happen. But it is happening. And now he has to deal. The queens have to come up. It's a whole deal. And now the queens are in the way of the hatchery. Sometimes things just never go right. But Ultralisk Cavern. Okay. Well, that's a big choice. One of the largest units, though got a nerf to its thickness not too many patches ago. Ostensibly to make it a little easier to use when combined with... Oh my god. Oh, that wasn't particularly cost-effective. Banelings fulfilling their purpose as efficiently as possible there. Armies boxing each other out over to the bottom left of the map as well. Skirmishes happening throughout. This is the most dangerous and action-packed stage of the game. Both players are still, to an extent, mining from their main, and they're expanding to 2, 3, 4 additional bases. The income doesn't get any higher than this. The 10 to 15 minute mark, when you have essentially the max amount of workers and bases, and you're starting to get enough production to use it. So we'll see. With Mass, Ultralisk, well, Mass, how many does he have? 0. That's not very many. All right, so it couldn't be further from it. But eventually, Ultras up against this Gateway Archon army. Ultras can work. On paper, the Protoss army is better. But we don't play on paper. herO's got a lot of units on hold position. herO pretty notorious for using the Select All Army hotkey, making him the Protoss's Protoss. To an extent, so often that things like Warp Prisms have a tendency. So yeah, his hotkeys are 1 Void Ray, or 1 Warp Prism, some Archons, and, well, hopefully maybe these Immortals eventually. Well, they're holding the line. There's a shield battery in position, but the Zerglings have adrenal glands, and they're ripping through. They get an Archon, a unit that on paper they hard counter. But once again, we went over this. This isn't on tabletop. All right, it's not on your phone. You guys have phones, but no matter how many of a certain unit counters something in some YouTube short you saw, it doesn't really matter when applied practically. Positioning matters, timing matters, and especially with Archons, even the angle of the attack really matters, since they do splash damage in effectively a chain from their target. So if those Zerglings are jammed into a choke point, the Archon can kill a cinematic level of them. But if they're well spread out, well then this many Banelings can certainly do terrible, terrible damage. Alright, the force fields are knocked down moments before the Banelings, but a wall of Archons actually boxes them out. The Archons tank the damage. Another fungal comes through. More Banelings are rolling in. And the Archons are starting to dwindle while the Roach Ravager on the back line. The Ultras, the Hatchery gets knocked out, which actually lets the Ultras move a little bit easier into the fight. But the Ultras are taken out. The Immortals and the Archons are just punching through, and the Stalkers are providing a lot of support. There's still 1 fungal on the Infestors. There's 2 Immortals left on the back line. Reynor only has 63 drones, so he doesn't have much to back this up. herO is juggling units back. And so far, where did that stasis come from? I haven't seen an Oracle in quite a while, but a stasis manages to hit these units. herO is forced back. Corrosive Biles knock out the Observers. What a play out of Reynor. These are changelings back here, but another base down. Ultras are not really a high economy unit. They're not something you can continue to produce. I mean, look at them, all right? Like, those are not a cheap unit to maintain. And the fact that Reynor is down to 1 base that can become the focal point of these attacks, he needs to stabilize. He either needs to stabilize by defending competently for a little while, or by knocking out some of herO's bases and dragging him down to his economic level. So we'll see. So far, herO is doing quite a good job of keeping control of the situation, but Stalkers on their own are just sad. Thankfully, they have some friends coming in, making them unique among StarCraft players. Immortals and Archons are the real heavy hitters here. The charge lots in front. +3, +3 upgrades. And now +2 shields about to complete for herO. So he has about as strong of a Protoss army on the ground as you can get. That +3 shield is incredibly expensive and really not that helpful compared to the other upgrades. So I wouldn't be surprised if he holds off that one. He's making DT Archons, by the way, which is an interesting point. They cost a little less gas, but a lot more minerals. Technically, you can mix and match Archons ever since 14 years ago with StarCraft 2, when that was legalized for the Protoss. You can have a High Templar and a Dark Templar merge. It's just, it doesn't happen very often. So, usually the High Templar, in this sort of case, are reserved for Storm. But he doesn't even have a Templar Archives. I think he wanted to use DTs originally, and then just never found the space. Both of them are spending all their money, and both of them are maxed out right now. Is Neural Parasite done? One of the best counters to Immortals is Immortals. And Reynor understands that. As one of the only Protoss players to ever beat StarCraft, yes, Reynor. Go check out that game. Not right now, obviously. He very much understands how strong Immortals are against that late game Zerg. Reynor has managed to get a 5th base up, but he's still in a tenuous position economically. herO had an economic lead until Reynor started mining from him. He just lost a dozen probes. DTs were warped in to defend, and he took out the Observer. There's another Observer on the back line, but he grabs the Immortals. And the Ultra Immortal Archon composition is quite a strong one indeed. He might be able to see the Infestors, but that doesn't mean he can stop him. Throwing Corrosive Vials at the Immortals while they're Neural Parasited. And the Ultras will chew their way through. herO's down 90 supply. It's an absolute disaster for the Korean Protoss. And now the Queens and the Infestors are carrying through. Those are some badly bruised Ultras. They could be taken out rather quickly here. Fungal, he grabs an Archon as well. That'll absorb a lot of damage. Takes out a couple of the Ultras. Ultras! Oh, well. Reynor smells blood in the water. But I don't think the Protoss have blood, and there's not much water around. Well, the Ultras are a bit of a liability when they get into those enclosed spaces. So herO loses 15 probes. He's starting to stop the bleed. Now, this Nexus at the bottom left being done is absolutely critical. Reynor did not, until this moment, I think, acknowledge it. I'm not sure if he knew about it, but he clearly wasn't focused on it. Now, as an arguably great man once said, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I make Ultras. Now, Ultras have been buffed many, many times since Hydra said that in Wings of Liberty. But still, it's a hard army composition to make work unless you're able to convince the Immortals to fight for you one way or another. So Reynor is on the precipice of victory. But the Ultras, he dodged a fungal there. The Ultras are a bit of a liability. So we'll see if he can deny the Infestors. Reynor's still trickling out Infestors. herO is in trouble town. He can't lose another fight. If he loses another fight, that's the game. The probe's on the run. Takes an Immortal. Has to blink back. The other Immortal is exposed. Is their shield battery overcharged? He's doing some damage. The DTs slip in. The Zerglings on the probes. And the Stalkers are blinking back. There is a fungal ready. He blinked forward, which means he can't blink back. He catches a couple of the Archons, but he's forced to turn. 14 more probes down. herO blinking. The Ultras are on the chase. herO. He has to press the issue. We can't let the Infestors regain energy. An incredible fungal. Another Infestor. Throws another fungal out there. And the Ultras are just chewing through the Stalkers. The last Immortal will be caught and chopped to pieces. Eviscerated by the Ultras. Shield battery overcharge. The cannons on the back. herO is not going to give it up yet. He's chasing down the Zerglings. Even a single Ling still doing devastating damage to the remaining economy. The Ultra, but the transfuses turn it around. Oh my. Well, what do we have left? There are 2 Ultras. So the army supplies. Now remember, 332. Those are the upgrades right now for herO. So his Blink Stalkers and his Archons couldn't get much stronger than they are. The Zerglings were burrowed to the north side. The Infestors pop up. The Observers are spotting him the whole time. There is no built-in anti-air here. The probes get fungled. The Ultra's gonna chase. Chops down a couple more. Just 2 Zealots here, but that's enough. And the Nexus goes down. Is there enough for a fungal? There's enough energy for maybe one more. He knocks down an Observer with Corrosive Bow, but blinks in, snipes off an Ultra. Another Ultra trying to chew through. The Queen's on the back line trying to get vengeance from earlier. The supply gap starting to close. The Ultra just barely won a save. There's one more Ultra nearby, but Reynor is struggling to mine. herO's actually taken the income lead, as Reynor has not been able to find a reliable... He snipes the Ultra and blinks out before the fungal lands. And now Reynor is left... He's got the army, but it's not the army. Now, we're counting queens in the army supply. There's an Ultra, but the Ultralisk's an Ultra risk at this point. Ultra coming in. $18 Ultras have died, 24 Archons, 13 Immortals. herO's actually lost 4,000 more gas, which is usually a death sentence for Protoss. In this case, it's barely a punctuation mark. Three Banelings rolling in. They have +3 done. I actually don't know how this works, because rarely do you see probes with +3 armor and shields. I don't think they one-shot... Okay, well, they do 39 damage. So, rarely do you see probes only benefit from armor and shield upgrades. So, in this case... Oh my god, herO remembered a Templar Archives. After 24 minutes... Wow, this game simultaneously has felt like 15 and 45 minutes. But 24 is the number. Brr, the Baneling. Reynor has lost his kill window. He no longer has the ability to potentially kill herO. It was very much dependent on whether herO had near perfect micro that he survived so far. That is the only reason we made it this far, is herO blinked out of half a dozen fungals. He managed to mitigate the effect of the Ultras and the Infestors. Infestors don't work well in tight spaces. Essentially, the only space they like is open space. And Reynor maybe got a little too bloodthirsty. And now we're here. He's building 3 Corruptors. Does he have a Greater Spire? Yes. Broodlords. Broodlords. An option we haven't explored. Storm is on the way. It's like they both opened up the Prima strategy guide and decided to see what else is on the tech tree. Because right now, neither of them is confident they can continue with the army they have. So herO's like, Storm? Maybe we'll see a fleet beacon? It's going to be a while if that's the case. Reynor did still have map control. What that means is even though Reynor was not able to end the game, and even though herO was able to defend pretty cost-effectively, if herO goes out of the map, the Ultras will rip his face off. So, that's what map control is. That means Reynor was able to expand once, twice. He could probably expand again and get away with it for now, because herO just did not have the army to reliably go out on the map and actually fight. He has to be behind his cannons, his shield batteries. So, here we are. The times of plenty have ended. And the times of scarcity and holding on to whatever else you have left. As Reynor has actually mined out. How much gas is he? Oh, we're starting that. We're going to start that. How many minerals, how much gas is left? At this rate, it could very much be one of those games where we start having to count who has mineral patches and who doesn't. Because right now, both these top-tier players are struggling to even get close to 200 supply again. Blanks out. The Storm is done. So Reynor was actually the first Protoss player, at least I saw on a high level, to popularize this style. Like the kind of... You don't want to wall off or make a big cluster of cannons and batteries, but a funnel. So that way you funnel the Zerglings into beautiful storms. Oh my god. And with that, herO actually turned the supply gap in his favor. Reynor does interrupt a warp and is going to burrow a lot of Zerglings back there. But Reynor can give himself credit for all those Zerglings getting slaughtered. And yeah, it seems like a simple thing, but before, most Protoss players would just scatter them all throughout the base instead of creating these sort of tower defense style choke points. Sure, they're still vulnerable to Banelings, but not nearly as much so. Banelings can only really hit maybe 2, possibly 3 buildings. This isn't the perfect example here. but it is that Reynor style of late-game Protoss that Reynor is currently up against. So, and you ask, like, well, why doesn't he just pick Protoss against Protoss? I remember seeing him against Hearthstone, where he was asked that by someone in the chat. And he said, well, not even God could make me play Protoss versus Protoss, which is fair, because a lot of the times in PvP, it feels like it's in God's hands. As opposed to anyone else's. Well, somehow herO has turned the supply around, as Reynor has begrudgingly kicking and screaming been forced into Infestor Broodlord. That composition of so much drama in the past. And here come the Infestors, throws out a fungal. The Storm will hit most of the Brood. Stutter stepping back, the Charge Lots overrunning the Queens. The Ultra coming up a bit late to the party, the rest of the Zerglings. The Storms were good, but the Broodlords will hold for now. The army has 21 Charge Lots. There's actually... okay, there's a lot of anti-air in there. But 10 Broodlords are very dangerous. Whoop! Recalls the ground army. There's an Ultra. No! Run! Does he have Ultra speed? No! Reynor does not have Ultra... oh, how... well, he hasn't had it the entire game, because that's how upgrades work. But... wow, that's actually kind of a huge oversight. A significant speed... well, that's why Zerg has so many speed upgrades. Closing the distance is so important. Not having Ultraless speed at this stage of the game, after all of this, after 18 Ultras have died? Oh, that's possibly a game-changing mistake. I wonder how those fights would have looked. It wasn't super obvious. It's not a super obvious upgrade, because they're hefty units. But another Ultra... ooh, almost killed off. The Infestors get great fungals here. The Broodlords raining down Broodlings, but the Templar raining down Storms on top of the stack of them. And now the Ultras are forced to back off. There's still 7 Immortals. He's fighting against the Storm. Oh, no. Another Ultra. He's going for the hatch. The Broodlings from the hatch and from the Broodlords coming through. How many Queens are left? None. The Queens are dead. And he's not building anymore. The Ultras will regen slowly. Another group of Zerglings. Another beautiful Storm. He sacrifices a Templar for the damage. Now, Reynor is down to 19 drones, but he has an army that can't really be directly beaten. He has to retreat. The Broodlords they regenerate slowly. And without the Queens for transfuse, he's got a bunch of half-health Broodlords. herO, the incomes. Reynor right now has next to 0, whereas herO has whatever this amount of mineral patches is. Neither of them can afford to take another base. herO's just building observers, because burrowed Infestors could still be disastrous for him. We're 31 minutes in. There's almost no ability left. The Zerglings blocked in by the Stalkers. herO has held on, but this is still an army that is incredibly dangerous. herO is long-distance mining. Will he actually spend on a Nexus? Reynor has actually managed to get another hatch up, but it won't last. Oh my god, he might be sitting at less drones than he started with at this rate. He's down to 16. The Ultras will chew through the Zealots. The main army here might be able to catch. herO slightly out of position. No Ultra speed. Not that it would matter much in these fights. Much earlier for sure, but the Broodlords triggering on the probes here, pushing him back, and herO is up against a wall of his own creation. This is actually a really rough spot. Where did that recall go? I think he was anticipating a counterattack. He's just trying to divide and conquer this army. Splits off. It's now herO who's going for something of a base trade, as Reynor needs to keep his Broodlords together. The Broodlords! There's an observer! He sees it! The Broodlords are on their own! The Stalkers blink in! unprotected broodlords. The stalker sees the opportunity, and those broodlords, and now he's losing the drones. He's down to 10. It's a disaster for Reynor. He had the opportunity. He turned the Protoss against each other. He had the supply lead, but it was a tenuous lead at best, as the army he built was one that herO was designed to counter. And now, without the neural parasites, there's still the ultras. Reynor's down to 9 drones. He needs to make this work. The broodlords are still raining down. If he had 10 of them, maybe 5 of them. herO doesn't have income, remember. He can't rebuild. There are 20 stalkers. There's only 1 High Templar left. He's got a corruptor to snipe off observers, and there is an overseer here. How many observers left? There's 1 storm. That's all. No, the infestors. The infestors are underneath. The fungal. He goes for the broodlords. The immortals are punching through the ultras. Down go the broods. But the immortals, they're far too much. GG. WP. herO punches through. The immortals are enough. 25 dead ultras. 94 dead stalkers. 800 zerglings slain. 24 queens will be remembered wistfully by the broodlords who were at half HP for so long. Oh my god. Well, there's your emotional roller coaster. Indeed. I went off Mr. Reynor and Mr. herO's wild ride. Or maybe a second round. But, well, of all the games I've ever seen, that was certainly one of them. And one of the most dramatic as well. As I promised, because it's such a reliable prediction, it was going to be drama. There were mistakes on both sides. Reynor forgetting his ultraless speed. herO, impossible to put a zealot on hold position. That is like if Protoss had doors, he'd have a 15% higher win rate against Zerg. But at the end of the day, herO holds it together by that much and powers through. Well, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it made your day a little bit better. You got the means of motivation. Be awesome to check out Patreon, the second channel for Stormgate, Zero Space, other games you might not be interested in now, but might be interested in later. But of course, like and subscribe for more StarCraft 2. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.